Okay, so there's a fence, and you're expected to be on one side or the other. And that fence represents fall fashion trends. If you're on this side, you're probably one of those who believe that we should get excited to talk about the latest fashion trends for autumn winter as the season changes. Or if you're on the other side, maybe you're thinking, this is a waste of time. There's no such thing as fall fashion trends. Everything is a staple. There's nothing new. Well, as for me, I will be sitting on that fence because I claim both sides of this. We all know by now that fashion cycles. And I think what happens with fall winter trends is that they cycle much quicker than spring summer. So when a spring summer trend might take about a decade to come back around, in the same way we're talking now about 2010s fashion or even 2000s fashion, the fall fashion trends tend to cycle 3 to 5 years because a lot of our fall winter clothing is functional clothing. So it doesn't feel as new, and then the styles also make sense. They have to be practical and climate appropriate if you do live in an area that experiences fall winter temperatures. And then the colors and the mood mirror what's going on in the season. The changing colors of the leaves, the falling of the leaves, the earthiness and texture. That is why it doesn't feel new, because this is what inspires the trends. So a lot of the fall winter styles are derived from those things. But I still think it's worth talking about because people are always at different stages of their lives, and maybe someone is just getting into their style and their fashion. It's definitely worthwhile for them to start learning what's the staples, as we call them, so we know exactly what to invest in that will be lifelong pieces. For the rest of us who aren't new to this, we're true to this, we enjoy a good set of trends. Who doesn't like to hop on a fun trend and get involved? We really do need to keep abreast of what's going on so we can continue to enjoy our fashion. So this is my take on the autumn winter 2025 trends. These are pretty much on my mood board. There are a lot of subtleties in these trends that I'm really into, and I want to share them with you. I have to start with the number one trend right now, and that is the color, or rather the shade brown, but more in the chocolatey, umber, brunette, mocha type of hues. As a contrast and proof to last year, we were all talking about the cherry red for the autumn winter for 2024. And whilst the reds, the burgundies still exist because yes, they are fall staples, you cannot deny that brown, this chocolatey look, is everywhere. The beauties are out in their monochromatic looks and they're looking as delectable as chocolate. And as much as these are more darker colors, I find that they bring a sense of just brightness to people. Like, people pop in these colors. Now, specific to my wish list and featuring heavily in my dreams is this oversized cardigan by Lauren Manoogian. You know I'm currently obsessed with that brand if you've been here recently, and I don't think I can end the year without this one. For shoes, I'm looking at these loafers by Gabriela Hearst. I spotted them in Saks a month ago, and I almost could not peel myself away from the store when I saw them. I had to take a photo, and I've just been waiting for them to make it off the fifth. If you know, you know. And I also had this bag from Coach, this patchwork version of their already trending Brooklyn shoulder bag, screenshotted. I think this is so out there, but still very much on trend. The Brooklyn bag is already popular, as I mentioned before, and this is a very unique spin on that. I don't think you're going to find a lot of people with something like this. Definitely going to be one of the most interesting vintage bags for future generations. I also spotted this drawstring suede tote by a London-based brand called Lily & Bean. I've been loving them, been looking at their monogrammed items, and I found this to be just so simple yet profound, and it fits perfectly into this brown chocolatey trend that's going on for this autumn winter. Also, this hefty chocolatey suede jacket from Madewell is going to have the girls in a chokehold. Trust me, I know that we are all going to be heading over to Madewell soon to get some version of this. Speaking of suede, this is one I think would definitely fall more under the argument of being a fall staple, but I think it's more prominent and hot on the tongues of the fashion lovers for this year. Like, we love textures for fall, and I think suede is one of those textures that's more manageable, it's more subtle, a little bit more wearable than the others, and is definitely a worthwhile investment, especially if you're purchasing natural suede and not like synthetic imitation versions. If you're purchasing natural suede and you'll learn how to take care care of it, it's definitely going to be another one of those lifelong pieces. And when the trends cycle rather quickly, you will always have your suede item on hand. More obviously now, we're seeing suede bags taking over the place, which makes a lot of sense. But I'm also admiring those, obviously, who are wearing suede jackets, those who are wearing suede mini skirts. If you're a little bit more daring, suede pants are also an option. If you really want to get into it, definitely suede shoes, suede boots. And just as an aside, if you don't want to have to take care of suede, I think a very good alternative is corduroy. I'm seeing a few sprinklings of corduroy here or there, which may be a better option for you if you're not interested in having to upkeep suede. Speaking of suede boots, obviously boots are staples for autumn winter, especially if you live in a climate or region that requires you to wear boots for your own safety. And I've been seeing knee-high boots trending on social media, but I've also seen more non-influencer type creators showing us that they have gone out to purchase their boots for this season, or they're going into the back of their closets to bring out those knee-high boots that they had before. And I personally haven't worn knee-high boots since I was an adult. I think the last time I wore one, I was probably 17, 18. And I'm starting to get a little bit influenced and tempted to get one. And of course, Hermes caught my attention. I don't ride horses as yet, but you know, maybe I should get a riding boot that's knee-high because they look so delectable. There are so many options that I think are worthwhile getting into. But of course, you should wear whatever you have, especially if you need them to be appropriately attired for the season. Safety first. Okay, the next one that I think is also obviously now a trend more than it was ever before is the white shirt peeking out. So it's cold season, the temperatures are going to drop, and one of the best ways to stay cozy, toasty, and warm is to layer your pieces. Some version of a warm undershirt is a good option. However, what I'm seeing now more with these white shirts peeking out underneath is more style than function. Nonetheless, it's time to get out your white tees, your white shirts, and layer them underneath your round neck sweaters, your v-neck sweaters, your cardigans, and make sure that they're peeking out at the neckline, at the wrist, or at the waist or hip, depending on how long your other piece is. If you have not yet sourced a perfect white tee, I recommend, as always, the Uniqlo cotton tee. They are just thick, they are well constructed, they're the perfect white tee for this trend, and they will serve you for every season because who doesn't need a good white tee? And it's about 50 bucks. If you're looking to invest in a good white collared shirt for this season, definitely look to Polo Ralph Lauren. And they themselves, this is more along their lines of style, or even just to get style inspiration, head over to Ralph Lauren. I also noticed Good American has a great version of this. Or if you really want a designer label, this is 100% Miu Miu style. I would say that the trending pattern for this season is stripes. So if you're already going for that preppy style, the Miu Miu-esque style, the Ralph Lauren style I just spoke about, then they're all doing stripes for this season. You could look to get your casual tees, your polos, your cardigans, your shirts in stripes. They are very prominent and very hype among the younger fashionistas. This trend, I doubt is going to pop off the way that the influencers are trying to make it pop off, and that's the wearing of these silk items with lace details. So what I see the fashion influencers trying to promote are those silk pajama-like shorts with the lace details at the bottom. They're wearing them with cardigans and their boots, and they look good in picture, but I just don't think it's going to translate well into the season. I don't think they're actually like fully functional. However, there are other options that I think look so much better. There are dresses, longer skirts that are more intentionally designed to show off this silky, lacy type style, and I've really been enjoying seeing those. And there's even an option to make it more casual, sporty, bohemian as well, and using them to layer, and it just comes across so cool. Personally, I'm not really daring like that. I would stick to just a basic silk top with a lace detailing at the neckline that's just gorgeously made and just have it underneath a blazer or a cardigan peeking through. It's so well done, and it's a great version of what's trending right now with the silk lace patterns. And this one is a little bit specific to me and very niche, but I've been seeing this more and more in the editorial photos, and they definitely have got me with the watches over sleeves. They just look so chic to me. As I said, I'm loving more daintier watches with this trend. So on the really bougie spectrum is the Cartier Tank. There are so many versions of this, and I just think they're so cool. I don't know how else to express it. You've just got to see it to understand. But I feel like it doesn't matter the brand to me. It's more of the accessory use of it. It's probably even better with some vintage watches, items that are not designer labeled. It doesn't matter. It's just the overall look of it that I think is trending right now. And there are other options. It doesn't even have to be watches, just cuffs over sleeves, gold cuffs, just cinching the wrist over the cardigan or just over the sleeve is really what's trending. The rest of these are really what I consider honorable mentions. These are the staples, and we'll still obviously be seeing them around. They're kind of like next up in line to all the other things I've mentioned before. And when it comes to colors or shades, greens, we're seeing pistachio green if you are really into that. It's kind of carrying over from spring, summer. Olive and hunter greens have still stuck around, and obviously burgundy is never going to leave. At trench coats buttoned to the top, just high necklines in general that are kind of loose, not so much the really tight fitted turtlenecks, just loose high neckline. The cinching of the waist even over the coats are also having a moment, whether they're being cinched by the belts that come with the coats or using multiple belts, huge belts layering just with huge buckle details. That kind of carried over from last fall winter. It may have even been spring summer. I just remember Chloe had a fashion show where this was very prominent, but it still carries over to this season. If you're into that type of style, you would love it. Fringes are something we're always going to see during the season, and you're more likely going to see them on bags, and they make a lot of sense on bags. Of course, if you're wearing those suede jackets, sometimes there are fringes available for those jackets if you're into that type of style. And finally, the most staple of autumn winter that you definitely should invest in is that of leather. Black leather will always be the most loved, the most functional, but there is a subset of leather for this season that is more attractive to fashion consumers, and that is the vintage worn-in type look. And I spoke about it in a recent video. If you haven't yet watched it, I'll link it here. But people are seeking the worn-in look, and you are either going to get it from pre-loved vintage, or you will purchase into those brands that know that this is trending and they're actually making their items look patina, even though they're brand new items. So that's definitely something to consider for this season. And let me know what side of the fence you're on about whether or not there are fall winter fashion trends or there's no trend and everything is a staple. Until my next video, stay fashionably well and in good health.